Picture this moment. You lift an ordinary-looking quarter from a dusty album, tilt it under the light, and suddenly the rim glows with a brilliance you didn't expect. That flash hints at a hidden story, and before you know it, you're hooked on uncovering every nuance of its journey from the mint floor to your fingertips. Today's first treasure is the 1967 Washington quarter, a piece that bridges old-world minting traditions and modern clad compositions, capturing a snapshot of America during a time of transition and innovation. The tale begins in Philadelphia and Denver, where, in the midst of rising silver prices, the U.S. Mint was racing to conserve precious metals. By 1965, the silver content of dimes and quarters had been eliminated in favor of a copper-nickel-clad sandwich, and this shift reached full momentum by 1967. No proof quarters were released this year, and all you'll find are business strikes, massive runs that remain surprisingly fertile ground for unexpected mint errors. When mint workers fed a fresh planchet into the press, they probably had no idea that among the nearly 750 million quarters produced, a small fraction would emerge with quirks that turn heads and open wallets. The design itself is a familiar face. John Flanagan's timeless portrayal of George Washington on the obverse, his bust defined by crisp cheekbones and stoic gaze. On the reverse, a majestic bald eagle perches on a bundle of arrows, its wings fanned and talons gripping olive branches, a symbol of strength tempered by peace. Despite this consistency, each die carries its own subtleties: minute die cracks, variations in die polishing, and the occasional doubling on letters. Spotting the difference between a standard strike and one with microscopic doubling under Liberty or quarter dollar can be the thrill that turns an average collection into something exceptional. Identifying these rare varieties starts with a keen eye and a trusty loop. Broad strikes occur when the collar fails to restrain the planchet fully, allowing it to expand outward during striking and produce a coin without a defined rim. These can be wide enough to dilute the central details, giving the eagle a ghostly halo. Off-center strikes happen when a blank isn't properly seated. Just a few degrees of misalignment can expose raw metal at the edge and shift the entire portrait off its axis. Then there are clipped planchets, where the blank was cut too close to a previous blank, leaving curved sections missing, like a bite taken out of the metal. Doubled dies, much rarer on clad issues, reveal themselves as faint shadows along letter strokes or feathers. Learning to differentiate between post-mint damage and genuine die doubling takes practice, but every seasoned collector knows that mastering this skill can unearth a gem hidden in a shoebox. When it comes to value, the spectrum is as wide as the errors themselves. Plain, well-worn quarters still trade for face value, or maybe $1 or $2 in dealer cases, but uncirculated examples show how people once hoarded these coins, slipping them into plastic flips instead of wallets. In circulated grades like very fine, you might pay around $2 to $3 for a decent shape. Climb into about uncirculated, and dealers often ask $5 to $8. Once you enter mint state territory, prices begin at around $6 for MS-60 and climb steadily. MS-63 coins might fetch $10 to $15, while MS-65 or better can trade for anywhere between $20 and $50 depending on eye appeal. Auction results reveal the true extremes of collector enthusiasm. A pristine MS-68 specimen, virtually flawless under examination, surfed into the auction limelight and sold for nearly $9,000. That kind of price reflects not only its condition, but the rarity of quarter-high grades popping up intact from circulation. But you don't need that level of perfection to feel the adrenaline spike. A bold 7% off-center strike, graded MS-63, recently changed hands for just under $200 at a regional auction, proving that even minor shifts can generate big interest. SMS Pieces, minted in limited special mint strike runs and not officially released, also join the chase. Surviving SMS SP69CA coins have been known to command prices in the mid-4,000s thanks to their exceptional cameo contrasts and limited availability. Beyond numbers, the human stories give these quarters soul. One collector recalls a dusty cardboard box discovered in a bank's safe deposit room, packed with 1967 quarters that a long-forgotten political campaign had used for promotional giveaways. As the recipients sorted through them, they discovered 6 coins showing slight misaligned dies, distinctive spider leg doubling on "In God We Trust." Those 6 coins went from box change to prize showpieces overnight. Another tale involves a mint technician who, during a hurried shift change, accidentally ran 3 planchets without collars. He caught them, set them aside, and decades later they surfaced at a local coin show, each one commanding 5-figure prices as the most dramatic broad strikes ever documented for that year. Condition is king, but context amplifies value. In circulated grades, minor die cracks visible as raised lines near Washington's chin or along the eagle's wing can push the price up to $20 or $30, especially if the crack is pronounced rather than faint. When grading mint state coins, collectors scrutinize luster, hairlines, and contact marks. A single scratch marring Washington's eyebrow might drop an MS-66 coin to MS-64 territory, shaving dollars off potential sale prices. Conversely, a proof-like surface with frost-white devices and vibrant fields can lift an MS-65 coin toward MS-67 pricing, even if strictly that grade is technically lower. Regional variations add another layer. Philadelphia minted quarters, bearing no mint mark, tend to have sharper details, and unmarked specimens graded MS-67 or higher are rarities that dealers squirrel away. Denver minted pieces, marked by a small D beneath the wreath, sometimes show mint mark doubling or slight shifts that can transform an ordinary D quarter into a sought-after variety. In the field, however, mint marks can wear away. A gentle eye can catch remnants of a D on a seemingly mint markless coin, hinting at an original state that matters for classification. Collectors hunting 1967 quarters learn to appreciate subtle clues. A faint die crack extending from the rim through the eagle's wing takes on greater significance when paired with a full, mirrored luster. A hint of machine doubling beneath pluribus can distinguish a run-of-the-mill example from a certificate-worthy error. Even the tiniest clipping on the planchet edge can set off an alarm for anyone carrying a checklist of mint anomalies. These details transform each quarter into a miniature detective story, where every line and shadow can point toward greater worth. Among the countless metal discs slipping through pockets and counting machines, the 1967 Washington quarter stands out as a canvas of opportunity. With its place at a pivotal moment in American coinage history, it offers both a window into minting innovation and a playground for error collectors. Whether your interest lies in pedigree pieces graded above MS-67, eye-catching off-centers that spark conversation, or simply the thrill of spotting a tiny die crack, this issue rewards those who look closely. As you handle a 1967 quarter, remember that each was once a fresh imprint of faith, commerce, and national pride. Some quarters circulated so heavily that their surfaces tell of decades of transactions, while others escaped public hands and now gleam with the zeal of untouched fields. A broadstrike's extra bloom or a clipped planchet's odd contour carries a story, a moment when standard operations gave way to human hands and mechanical quirks. The next time you examine one, let your eyes wander beyond the portrait. Trace the eagle's feathers, inspect the fields for flash-frozen luster, and study the rim for misshapen edges. You may find that the unlikeliest quarter in your collection is the one that holds the greatest promise, waiting for just the right collector to recognize its hidden value. Shifting our focus from the 1967 quarter's storied past to a more modern piece, the 1991 Washington quarter offers its own collection of surprises, even for seasoned collectors who think they've seen it all. Minted at a time when the U.S. Mint was fine-tuning its clad compositions and experimenting with customer demand for proof sets, the 1991 quarter might look familiar at first glance. But a closer inspection reveals layers of nuance that can turn an everyday purse pull into a prized exhibit. The story begins in Philadelphia and Denver once more, with over 1 billion pieces struck across both facilities. By 1991, the mint's processes had stabilized. No silver content since 1965, consistent die preparations, and robust quality control measures aiming to deliver uniformity. Yet, even in this environment of precision, human hands and industrial machines conspired to create imperfections. With each planchet fed into the high-speed presses, tiny variations, slight die misalignments, momentary lapses in collar pressure, faint die cracks, gave birth to a class of errors that collectors still haunt. And while proof coins were officially released for the first time that year in numbers designed to meet collector appetite, business strikes remain the everyday workhorses of commerce, and within their ranks lie the hidden gems. Identifying a rare 1991 quarter starts with mastering its key design features. The familiar Flanagan obverse presents Washington's profile, her hair tied with a ribbon that flows into the field. On the reverse, the perching eagle motif gives way to a new eagle in flight, quietly introduced starting in 1991 for certain special releases, though business strikes retain the classic perched eagle reverse. That transitional nuance signals to an observant collector whether a quarter is an official proof, a special mint set, or an ordinary circulation piece. Die polishing lines, particularly around Washington's ponytail and the eagle's wing feathers, can reveal over-polished dies that sometimes produce frost-like fields and weak devices, traits prized in proof-like business strikes. Even among business strikes, a handful of error types stand out. Doubling on the motto, "In God We Trust," faint though it may be, can elevate a quarter's value. Off-center strikes, rare above a 3% deviation, become truly eye-catching when the date sits perilously close to the rim or when the eagle appears to be flying off the edge. Broad strikes on clad planchets are subtler than on silver coins, but the absence of a fully formed rim can create a wispy halo effect. Repunching errors, where the die was lined up twice for minor adjustments, show as ghost images of the mint mark or date, and these are far scarcer on modern issues, often escaping notice in budget collections. On the market, values for 1991 quarters stretch from face value up to hundreds of dollars, depending on error type and grade. A circulated 1991 quarter remains face value, 25 cents, unless it carries a clear error. In very fine condition, dealers may offer 60 cents to $1 for coins with exceptional luster or minimal contact marks. About uncirculated examples can fetch $2 to $3. Crossing into uncirculated grades, MS 60 pieces start around $4. MS 63 tend to trade for $8 to $12, and MS 65 examples, especially those with punch-through mint marks or proof-like surfaces, rise into the $25 to $40 range. Auction rooms reveal the extremes of collector enthusiasm. A certified MS 67 proof-like business strike, showing mirror-proof fields and frosted devices, sold for over $400 when it turned up at an online sale. Even more dramatic, an MS 64 quarter with a 12% off-center shift brought in $175 at a regional show, demonstrating the power of a bold misalignment on a modern coin. Rare double die obverse, recognized by doubled serifs on the letters of liberty, can yield $150 to $300 in mid-grades because they represent a printing process hiccup that almost never survived quality checks in the mint's later decades. Beneath these numbers lie human stories that breathe life into each metal disc. One collector recounts finding a 1991 D quarter with a flip die error buried in a roll purchased from a bank. The eagle's wing seemed upside down before he realized the die itself had been installed backward, a phenomenon so unusual that experts speculated only a handful slipped through during die installation. That single coin now resides in a private collection, shown at conventions as the sole surviving example of its kind. Another enthusiast shares how a friend discovered a batch of special mint set quarters, released only to collectors and never intended for circulation, mixed into pocket change. These SMS coins, with their distinctive satin finish, can sell for $3 to $5 apiece, but a few in near-pristine condition rose to more than $10 when a registry set builder snapped them up. Condition variations carry their own drama. In circulated grades, minimal wear that preserves details in Washington's hair ribbons and the eagle's feathers can bump value to $3 or $4. Once a coin clears the 58 Australian dollars threshold, its luster often gleams with a subtle, piano wire finish that hints at uncirculated status. This pushes prices into the $10 neighborhood. In true mint state, sharpness of strike and quality of surfaces face intense scrutiny. At MS 66, even minor hairlines might be forgiven if the fields reflect light like glass. Collectors prize those as modern classics. MS 67 quarters appear so rarely that each coin becomes a highlight sale, trading hands for $50 to $75 depending on how vividly the devices contrast with the fields. Special mint sets from 1991 deserve their own spotlight. Issued in a collectible folder with specially burnished blanks, SMS quarters exhibit cameo-like contrasts between frosted devices and silky backgrounds. Though machine-marked SMS under the globes on the folder, the coins themselves look like standard business strikes, except for that signature satin texture. In mid to high mint state, SMS quarters can command $20 to $30, but truly exceptional examples graded SP68 or SP69 have sold for $75 to $125. Their limited mintage, just under 2 million quarters, makes them scarcer than many proof issues of the era, and their subtle beauty continues to draw collectors to search through thick folders and dealer trays. Regional quirks also influence interest and availability. In some parts of the country, bank rolls of 1991p quarters circulated heavily, leaving most survivors with tons of hairlines and contact marks. In those regions, MS-63, MS-64 coins are nearly non-existent, causing local premiums of 20 to 30%. Conversely, Mint Direct sales meant that collectors in urban areas often had access to SMS and proof sets, leading to a higher local density of pristine quarters. Over time, dealers moved these rarities to new markets, but pockets of concentrated supply still exist, often discovered by collectors who travel for shows or dig through estate lots. So when you next handle a 1991 quarter, don't let its familiar silhouette lull you into complacency. Study the fields for an unusual frosting, search the rims for a clipped planchet, and peer under magnification for the ghost of a doubled letter. You might find a subtle cameo that hints at a proof-like finish or a misaligned mint mark that tells a story of production line recalibration. Each variation, each condition grade, and each regional oddity represents a thread in the vast tapestry of modern American coinage. With that, you've journeyed through the history, features, values, fascinating anecdotes, and condition-driven market nuances of the 1991 quarter. Whether you're chasing a special mint set beauty, hunting off-centers and pocket rolls, or building a registry of proof-like business strikes, this issue holds more than its face, offering a playground for discovery and investment. Keep your loop close and your eyes sharp. The next exceptional 1991 quarter may already be waiting in your collection, ready to reveal its story and earn its place under the collector's spotlight.